Hello everyone and welcome to TekFlow for government and public facilities, brought to you by Zentek Consultants. TekFlow is a recurring video cast where we focus on publicly accessible venues, right? And we talk about the best technology practices and procedures that we've been implementing for our clients here at Zentek. Whether it's schools, airports, municipal buildings, hospitals, restaurants, any public space that you deal with, we're going to talk to you guys about better ways to manage and control those using simple technologies you probably already own. I am Jim Coppinger, one of the principals here at Zentek Consultants, and on today's episode, I want to talk to you guys about the concept of evacuation control systems. We're kind of in these last few episodes and the ones that are coming up, we're really focusing on security dashboards and how to work with those. And evacuation control is a real big concept that we all need to address, particularly when you're dealing with any type of public or government facility. They're particularly true when you get into schools and hospitals, right? Any place where you're going to have large gatherings. Putting together maps and control systems and plans and information and reporting data, etc., on the fire and life safety and the evacuation routes in particular is always a struggle for most of us, right? Because it's such, particularly in a larger facility, you're always undergoing some type of renovation project or an update or a use change, right? Or a split of, departmental control. There are always changes and alterations and things that have to happen. And of course, security itself, right? The processes and procedures we put in place will update as time goes on. And getting those plans out, being able to put them together, adjust them, and print those out for other people to be able to work with is always a place that we seem to struggle. We spend a lot of time getting subcontractors and consultants to put together evacuation plans and maps and print them out and update them. And, that's even just to get a basic printed setup. And what I want to talk to you about today are ways that we can get into using this dashboarding system to handle both the online portion of this and the printed version of this as well, right? So I kind of want to take you through some of the tools and features that we can work with you on. So the first thing that we want to be able to do here is you're looking to be able to create reusable, consistent tools for all of your facilities, right? In other words, it doesn't matter if you're running, one building or 100 buildings or 16 different, regional hospitals or, 35 schools in a district. You want to make sure that the tools you're using to create these evacuation control plans are all consistent and that you have tools to make it simple to make updates and changes. And to kind of show you what you can do with that, what I'm going to be doing today, I want to take you guys into a tool that we use. Like we said, most of these dashboards, we try to work them in terms of using PDFs, right? Because it's such a simple interface for people to work in. Everybody's familiar with it. But we use an editor here called Bluebeam Review. And Bluebeam Review gives us the ability to go in and in terms of creating tools, when we want to go ahead and generate, right, or modify or update plans, your evacuation plans, one of the things that we can do is we can build predefined custom tools. And those tools can be distributed out to every single department head or whoever else you need, if you got a design or a CAD department or whatever you have in-house to handle this. It becomes a very simple thing, right? We can generate tools that look and react and have the included data that you need directly on them. Just as like an example, you can see that I've got tools in here for the evacuation route, and that's what we've used to kind of generate these red tools. So if I want to go in and add something, say, hey, you know what, we need to try to get out of this room, and that they're going to be part of this flow going out that door. It's very easy to just come over, and literally all I have to do is say, look, everybody in that room is going that way right up to here. I can just go ahead and drop the tool on. That's it. That's all it takes. Everything's set, everything's done. I can do the same thing, with shelters, right? I say, look, we're going to go in from a shelter point, we're going to come out here. Oop, I kind of double clicked when I didn't mean to, but that's right. I can adjust it after the fact. Right? You can see that I'm going in and I've got all kinds of different controls that I can work with here, right? To easily put in whatever kind of tool that I want. And that would include things like shelter rooms, right? If I want to go in and I want to turn on and say, look, I'm going to, generate a shelter in place room or a shelter in place area right over here, I can designate those and add whatever kind of information I need, right, to make that happen. And it's very easy to go in here and put in all of your other safety and life safety equipment, we can put in, where are the pull stations, where are the alarms, where are the strobe lights, where are the fire extinguishers, and we can connect those to just about anything we want in terms of support and infrastructure. So that's kind of the first thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. All right. So the next thing then that I want to get into with you guys is it's the idea of visual path maps, right? And it's kind of what you just saw on the PDF that we were looking at. I'm going to jump back to that. Right? It's the idea that once you create these, right, it's one thing to have these, as we all have traditionally done, right? We draw them up. I've seen a lot of them, done by hand with markers. We print them out and we post them in the in the rooms and in the hallways and so on. And that's great. We need that. It's vital. But one of the other things that's really nice about this is that all of this data can be handled and controlled, right, directly here on the PDF. And one of the things that we can do with these is we can even do things like building in layer structures, right? So if we want to be able to, on this one plan, I have, my my shelter paths, right, for in case of, sheltering in place, or, I've also got the red, which is kind of the evacuation route. And if I wanted to print these out as different plans, you see, I can go in and say, hey, you know what, let's turn off, right, all the evacuation route. Now I can print out a plan for just this, but I can easily turn the evacuation route back on and turn off all the shelter routing. Okay. If I want to go in and say, look, I don't want to see any of the devices. You see, I've got all kinds of device tools and stuff set over here. I can turn those off. Right? I've got all my assembly areas. I can turn those on and off. Okay. So it's a very simple concept of not only being able to manually generate these reports, but having them here electronically where you can easily toggle and print out individual layers in different ways, right, to get you the data you need for different types of plan and output, and still having the ability when you're online through a tablet or for your desktop to use all of the integrated linking and interoperability of your dashboards, right? So it can really take your evacuation route process into an entirely different level. So the next thing then, right, that I want to talk about is this idea of assembly and student verification controls. And again, this really comes back to the electronic side, and very often working with tablets and online features. And one of the major benefits of dealing with dashboards, in my mind, right, it's one thing to, you can print out a plan, which all of us have in our classrooms right now. You can, hey, this is how you get out in case of a fire. That's a wonderful thing. It's a legal requirement, but it's also just a great requirement in general. But one of the things that is really important here is the idea that what do we do once the kids or whoever's inside of our building are outside? How do I make sure that they all got out? How do I make sure, that I'm accounting for all of the students? That's always a big struggle, right? I see, teachers running around like chickens without heads, doing head counts, counting numbers, trying to call on their cell phone to the teacher, or with a simple tablet in their hand, right, that they can just grab off their desktop as they go. They can just go outside and say, look, my students all went to Assembly Area 1. They can just click on Assembly Area 1. Here are the 4 rooms that should be assembling in this area. And then each one of the teachers right here on their tablet can just click on and say, okay, here's my full attendance sheet. And I can have my full list of students and say, okay, who's here, who's, they're, unexcused, they're absent today, they're present, tardy, whatever it is, all right? You can easily just go in and pre-build check boxes to say who's here and who's not on any given date and time. Right? And you can do that for your evacuations just as easily as you can for your regular classroom attendance, right? So it can even be tied into your kind of regular day-to-day control structures. And you can see the whole overall site. You can tie the cameras out there. You can do anything that you want. There's just an incredible amount of functionality that you can do to make sure that everybody is safe in these evacuation plannings. And the last thing then I want to talk about is the idea of integrating your contact data and security device links. Now, what I mean by that is probably not going to surprise you. It's kind of what I was talking about. We've touched base on it in previous sessions of TekFlow for government and public facilities, is the idea of linking and connecting the data, right? When we're dealing with, a fire or any other kind of emergent situation, right, you need to be able to contact people, right? You got to call ambulances, right? You got to call the fire department. You have to notify the mayor. You have to, get, whoever the emergency response team is, right? There are all kinds of different combinations. Maybe you want to just be able, like I said, maybe you're the principal, you're on the other side of the building and you want to see, what's going on the north side of your building. There's a camera over there that's web connected that you can connect to, right? And all of these things can be integrated into these plans. So again, thinking about it in terms of, a tablet in the field, or if you've got a safe area in the office where you can just go and say, okay, look, you know what, I need to go in and I got to start, calling the fire department. And I got to call, here are the codes we're going to need. Here are the alarm codes so I can turn the alarms off or notify or call PSE&G if there's a gas leak. All that data is right here on this page with the evacuation setups, right? If you got the same thing for government or your emergency response team. I can even go so far, like I said, to tie in if I need to track and see, who logged in and out with card readers for security purposes. I can link to a log on that, right? And I think I've shown you this in previous sessions, right? That you can go in and here's the log of who got in, who came in, who came out, right? If I need to go in, like I said, and say, hey, I need to see if everybody's collected, on the camera on the other side of the town, or the facility rather, right? I can go in, I can see the real-time camera feed, right? Just through a link right here on the tablet, right? And that's what I want you guys to take away from this, conversation today about evacuation control systems, is really about trying to take what's been traditionally a piece of paper that we print out and draw on or write on and tack up to the wall of a classroom and hope that people, read it. And then from there, we spend an inordinate amount of time you're trying to train in advance and do postmortems and try to get, all of the teachers and all of the other, facility operators to do things the right way, where with this type of a structure, you can automate it. You can put it right in front of them so it's right there for them to just click on and use at the moment that they need it. And those are the kind of things that we try to focus on here with the TekFlow for government and public facilities. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.